we have the pleasure of having back the now Eisner-nominated writer for Best New Series. This man is all over the place. Killadelphia's killing it. Wu-Tang American Saga, second season start in September. He even wrote for this year's Oscar Awards. Ladies and gentlemen of the Stash Land, we have back Rodney Barnes.
Yeah. Woo. Welcome to the show, Rodney. Welcome back.
I admire all of that enthusiasm on a Sunday morning. God bless you.
Thank you. And thank you for having us, coming back and joining us. Congratulations on your Eisner nomination. I want to start there. I want to start there with the Eisners.
Yes.
Once I saw Killadelphia was nominated for an Oscar, an Eisner. I'll take an Oscar. Nominated for an Eisner. I was so excited. I was so excited for you, so excited for Jason. And so I just want to know, how excited were you when you found out about your nomination?
I was excited. I was surprised because you're always surprised. There's so many books and so many great books out there that you wonder how your book kind of popped through. You never know, other than sales, really, what. And you get Twitter kind of gives you a gauge of what degree you're hated. But yeah, I was surprised and honored and all of that stuff.
The Eisner Awards were Friday, the 23rd or something like that. We found out the result. Black Widow won. How did you feel about that? Do you have some kind of Michael Jordan-esque competitive spirit where you were like completely pissed off, or where were you at about that?
No, it's comics, storytelling, movies, all of that stuff is subjective. So, all of it, all the nominees it was all quality work. It's all good stuff. Happy for those folks, and we'll keep at it, and hopefully next year, we'll be in the same position again.
When I saw all the nominees, I was like, whoa, this is a loaded category this year. Department of Truth is super, super popular. And so I kind of thought it was going to be between those two titles. So I was surprised that Black Widow won.
Yeah, you're just happy to be recognized that, the amount of effort, we put into the book every month is, it's a lot. And so anytime you can just be acknowledged for that, you're heading in the right direction, and your peers and, the fans respect what you do, that's enough for me.
When we last had you on, we talked about the creation of Killadelphia. Did you have any inkling that Killadelphia would be this big of a hit? Better yet, when you were conceiving the ideas for Killadelphia, because we know you're a writer for film and television and stuff, did you already have plans for Killadelphia beyond the pages of comics?
I knew that the way I write is sort of, I'm primarily a TV writer. And so I know I write in that style. And even when, I was trying to find my voice with Falcon and Lando and other things, I kind of landed on a style that I felt best suited comics, but it still felt closer to what television is. So anytime you're in that space, you sort of, in the back of your mind, are thinking, this could go someplace else, or this could live someplace other than just comics.
You joined us last year. You were talking about some plans coming up for this year, and it just got announced that Nita Hawes' Nightmare blog is going to be coming off, a spinoff of your Killadelphia series with Jason. Can you share with us, with the Stash fam, what the new title is going to be about?
Jimmy Sangster from Killadelphia was in Baltimore. He was a beat cop in Baltimore, and he had a relationship when he was there, and he left that relationship to come to Philadelphia so that, we could, all the events that have happened in Killadelphia. And sort of the person he was in a relationship with, Nita Hawes, has her own connection to the supernatural. And she's a parapsychology professor at Morgan State University, and has delved into the paranormal. If I give you the plot away, I'm giving away some of the story. So it's like I'm trying to work around something, but there's some personal events in her life that have sort of gotten her into the paranormal beyond academia. You know, I'm always interested in how theology, religion, philosophy have always been big ideas, subject matter in my life. And I always felt like certain characters were shortchanged, certain areas of storytelling were shortchanged in the way that they dealt with the supernatural and religion, and how all of those themes sort of tie together. And so the same way Killadelphia deals with politics and society and culture and race and a bunch of other themes, you know, family stuff, this more deals with family as it relates to faith, belief, the supernatural, trauma, a bunch of other themes, but they kind of walk hand in hand, the two books.
So going back to our first interview with you last year, you mentioned a Killadelphia spinoff. Is Nita Hawes that spinoff you were talking about?
Yeah, there are two. There was the Elysium Gardens book, that's the short story behind Killadelphia, and the Nita Hawes book.
Okay. And so you've been knee deep in horror, and I didn't know that. You know, I when I see you in comic book shops and stuff like that, I don't know who are horror fans, who are Star Wars fans, who are, you know, Doctor Who fans and stuff like that. And so I didn't know until after we officially met that you were this huge horror guy and you're knee deep in horror content. But then you got a gig writing James Bond for Dynamite. 007, and I'm going to call you OG, Rodney Barnes, okay? How did that come about?
The great thing about email is it's kind of like a Christmas gift every morning. Sometimes it could be a Christmas curse, but you wake up, I look at the emails, and there was an email from Dynamite, and they offered me a few things that morning. And I think the two that I responded to were Army of Darkness and James Bond. So that was how it started. And, you know, just getting through those books now as well. I owe them both books right now. My anxiety just raised 2 points talking about it, because it's like I'm a couple of days behind. I'm sorry, Joe, they're coming. But I'm writing issue 4 now of each.
That's insane. Honestly, I'm a huge Army of Darkness fan. Bruce Campbell's one of my favorite actors, personalities. So this is exciting news. It's fantastic.
It's fun. It's a challenge. It's sort of like the Lando book, in a sense that you're combining horror and comedy in kind of a broad, outlandish type thing, and it's such a different tone in Killadelphia, and everything else that I'm doing. It's like to go from a Star Wars book to, you know, a horror in Killadelphia to broad comedy to a spy. You know, it's just, you got to take your brain to different places, but it's a challenge as a writer, you know, to be able to sharpen your tools, to be able to do different things. I mean, that's what I always wanted to do. I never wanted to be pigeonholed into being one thing, whether it was television, film, or now comics. So it's all a blessing.
You are now in production of the upcoming biopic series about the Lakers. Even though we're Clippers fans, we're definitely going to check it out. And we keep seeing you on IG with some really talented people. What's the most exciting thing about doing your show?
That I'm acting in it as well.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I won't say excitement. I would say intimidation. I play a part. It was funny because I was asked I had to take one of those pictures down for marketing purposes. It was premature, but I'm playing a character in the show, and I'm not an actor. I'll repeat, I'm not an actor. But for some reason, I keep getting stuck in scenes, and I find myself in hair and makeup saying words in front of cameras and people. So I'd say that's probably the most exciting / intimidating thing about it. As far as the show itself, very proud of what we've done. It's a huge cast. It's a massive undertaking that has eaten up a lot of my life. So if you can imagine trying to write a bunch of comics and movies and pilots while running 14, 16-hour days doesn't leave you a lot of life space. But again, if you would have told me when I was in Maryland 25 years ago that one day we would be having this conversation, I would say I'll take it, So again, grateful, very, very grateful.
Speaking of basketball, you just threw me an alley-oop, and I'm Sean Kemp coming behind you and dunking it.
He can't do that anymore. Can't do that anymore.
With all the projects you're working on, writing, producing, I wonder where you find the time. I'm glad you brought that up. All the things you're working on, we follow you closely. We're huge fans. And I just wanted to know, for the aspiring writers, producers, creative minds alike, take us through like the average week of Rodney Barnes. I know you're in production right now, and that's like not the norm, because right now you're in production. But what's a week like, so the Stats fam can hear what it takes to be boss, all caps?
Well, I mean, I think usually a Monday is, like I said, all of those emails of people saying, "Where's my stuff?" And me writing apology emails and giving them deadlines that I probably won't keep, and I know it as I'm typing it. I always have to add 2 days. That's the math of me. If I say it's coming Wednesday, you're going to get it by Friday. That's usually in the comics world. I probably get up 4 or 5 in the morning. I try to write until it's time to go in. Our call times are different every day. We shoot all over LA, so some mornings we start at 7 on the stages downtown. I don't get much writing done then, but usually if we start at 7, we're done by 7. So I'm writing until 1, 2 in the morning.
Wow.
Rinse and repeat, do it again. I mean, the thing with the show is it's so unpredictable. Some days I could be in editing, some days I'm on set, some days, we're starting to put together season 2 now, even though season 1 hasn't happened yet. But the only way a show like this is able to stay on some semblance of a schedule is that you're always, focused on the future. So it's so much of that. I mean, I think it's not for the faint of heart. I'll say that. There's some days that are harder than others. It's always rewarding at the end. It's almost like writing a comic book script. I have to write 2 today. And trying to, knock them out and then still have them be good really requires, when I'm driving, I'm thinking about the story that I have to tell, and I'm trying to hone in and focus on that, and I'm writing it in my head so that by the time I get to wherever I go to, I'm making notes of what the story beats will be. And throughout the day, whenever I get a moment, I'm thinking about dialogue and I'm thinking about stuff. And so when I get an hour or 2, I write 3 or 4 pages, and they're rough. They're not like finished pages, but if I can get some semblance of a document together, then I give it as much time as I possibly can to refine it, and then it's on to the next one. It was funny the other day when all of those announcements were coming up. I've forgotten about, I'd say, at least 50% of it. Oh yeah, I did write that IG-88 story not that long ago, and I did write this, and I did write that. So again, it's like being on skates, man. It's like you're constantly moving. But I think to be successful at anything that's outside of mainstream life, there comes a period where you have to be uncomfortable. There has to be a period where you apply more of yourself. You're asking for a lot. You have to be willing to give a lot, and it's a challenge. But I think if you were to take it away tomorrow and you gave me, I used to work at Walmart, so nothing against Walmart. If I was back at Walmart as a department manager in the home goods section again, this is slightly more rewarding than what I was doing then. So, I can't complain.
You're very successful at writing various forms of media. A lot of writers use comic books as a stepping stone to movies and television. What keeps you coming back to this genre?
Stories. I mean, there's stuff that, stories I have that don't immediately lend themselves to TV or film as a pitch. And so oftentimes if I get an idea that just won't leave me alone and I can figure out the math of it in my head, I try to make it a comic. You know, if I can find an artist, I have my own publishing imprint that we'll start to publish next year. And each one is kind of like the books, each one is vastly different, all supernatural, mystery, and horror. But
you're talking about Zombie Love, right?
yeah, Zombie Love Studios. It's so, there were just stories that wouldn't leave me alone. You know, there were stories where I'm sitting around watching a game or whatever, and a thought would come in, a character would start talking. You know, some people say that's schizophrenia, but I would start to think of a storyline, or I would start to think of some avenue where a story could go, and it just haunts you. It just won't leave you alone, literally. So best place to put it is on paper and try to tell a story.
Since Sean can't dunk like that,
Yeah.
you threw me out.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
I saw Vince Carter dunk still. He could dunk.
That's different though. You know, Sean Kemp is my size now, so it's more like Sean Klump. It's not the same. It's not the same. You know, God bless the rain, man, but I think it's just like a big storm cloud now. So I don't know. You know, and I say that with all due respect because I could never do that. So, you know, God bless him.
So you threw me the lob. Now I'm Vince Carter, and I'm about to do a windmill. Because the next question and our last question, or second to last question, is a stash question. It's a comic book question. We know you collect comics. We've seen you buy comics. Okay.
I do. They're all over.
Yes.
They're all over here.
Love
yes.
We've never asked you this question. Okay. We know that you have a gigantic poster of Blackula somewhere in your home.
I do.
Right? But share with us your 5 favorite comic books that you own. 5 favorite. Sentimental. You love them. You won't get rid of them because they are your babies.
Doesn't need to be monetarily, just what
Swamp Thing, 28 and 29. All of the stuff that CGC, Swamp Thing 28, 29, the arcane ones. Neil Adams's Green Lantern, the one where Speedy was doing drugs, I think is 76.
I call that the crackhead issue.
The Academy Award nominated comic book. It's on the cover. I didn't know Academy Award did comic books, but I think a surprise one would be my Barry Windsor Smith first Conan edition, Red Nails.
Mike called that earlier.
Yeah, it's somewhere around here. Card could tell you all of this because 70% of them I bought from him.
Nice.
And I will say Warlock, Jim Starlin's Warlock with the Magus.
Yeah.
I forget what numbers they are because I don't know those numbers as well, but I would say those 5, Down Amongst the Dead Men, Swamp Thing as well. That was an annual. That was the one where he went to hell to get Abby's soul back. I actually own some original pages from John Totalbin and Bissette's artwork over there someplace.
Wow.
Wow.
So he busts out the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior, Tiny Tim Lester, Zeus flex on us right now because at the end he put an exclamation mark and said, "I got Swamp Thing pages."
Right.
Get out of here. I don't need to know the numbers of these darn comics. We got pages in the house.
Yeah, man. I love original art. I started doing it until I found out how expensive it was.
Right, exactly.
It's like, so I have like 5 or 6 like pages, but after that it's like not too much more. I have a signed Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair picture over there sitting on top of the Swamp Thing. So when you said Hulk Hogan, I have a Hulk Hogan.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Flexing on the Hulk Hogan flex.
Right.
So Rodney, okay, so is there any other upcoming projects that we haven't discussed that you would like to share?
I have another Star Wars project
Nice.
that I'm doing. The one of the 2 that I owe today. 8-issue series that I'm doing for them. That's the only one I think that's, let me look at the board. I've got a novel. I just sold a novel series, fantasy, young adult thing. 2 for Dynamite, 4 for Image, 2 for Marvel. Because I did a Cloak and Dagger thing for the King of Black. Quincredible, 3. I owe them. 4. I've got this thing with Substack where I'm going to be doing short stories because I want to do a magazine, a horror magazine next year.
That's cool.
And actually had in the back of my mind, I've had it for a while that I wanted to do a horror, very specific short stories, kind of like with Razor Blades for Infinite Worlds, or Heavy Metal, that type of thing.
Right.
Very specific to the type of stuff that I dig. Been wanting to do that for a while, so partly prose, partly short stories. I would probably publish that as well. But yeah, man, Blackula is coming. Blackula should be announced hopefully next week.
There we go.
Blackula Brownsville. So just about everything is sort of everything's on the move as far as comics are concerned.
Rodney, thank you for joining us again. We hope you consider the Stash Bro Network your home away from home.
I appreciate it. I do. You guys are great.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us again. That's all for our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit that like button. We are the Stash Bros. I'm Mike, speaking for Chris and Rodney Barnes. We're out. Peace.